He has so many bottles of wine ready. Where is his bullseye? He needs a bullseye. Squirrel. I've heard, right, that that's supposed to be very difficult for Germans to pronounce. Because it's just, I mean, you know, obviously, American accent, you just say squirrel. But it's a very weird syllable. It's like one and a quarter syllables. Squirrel. And yeah, they kind of wind up doing a like squirrel. I don't know. Oh, so this is the legendary Reaper's office. Yes, it appears so. It sends a chill down your spine, doesn't it? What an amazingly deathly atmosphere. Oh, is that... That hooded figure was so still I hadn't noticed his or her presence. I wonder who it is. What are you doing here? He's as unwelcoming as I thought he'd be. Actually, maybe even more so. Oh, I'm glad to see you're well. I am. So, who's the person over by the wall being punished for something or other? No punishment is taking place here. Oh. Oh, he's just gathered around the all-American Kotatsu. I mean, the all-English Kotatsu. That is my apprentice, and he's sitting there of his own free will. I didn't know you had an apprentice. It must be the same person who was pictured in the newspaper. He's wearing the same clothes, and people don't change clothes. He's very able in combat, a requisite skill for anyone under my tutelage. Are you referring to the attack on the Reaper that was reported in the papers? The Reaper? I'd be interested to know the Reaper's true identity myself. Assuming that is such a fabled fiend genuinely inhabits our great courtrooms. Lord Strongheart said that the assault last night was some sort of revenge attack. True, carried out by henchmen of Odi Asman's criminal organization. The investigation meant their arrests were imminent. Presumably, some hoped to kill me before that happened. Oh, hey, Shub. At the end of the previous case was weird. They so you were here when I left off on Saturday, right? On the cliffhanger. And when I picked up, they were like, "Okay, so who's behind the whole thing?" I was like, "I don't know. Mr. Garadab?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, Shamspear? No. I'm like, Van Zeeks? No. Freaking Susato? Like, I'm out of people. Who the guy who died a month ago? No. It turns out the mastermind was Olive Green, the girl who was in the hospital. That she sent Shamspear the letter that said, "Come to the what's it called at 5 p.m." so that he would leave his apartment so that she could break in and put poison on the thing because she had figured out that he had breathed into the gas pipe and killed her boyfriend or her fiance. And so she was like, well, if that is what really happened, then this poison on the thing is going to kill him because I overheard that he was still talking, that the guy who's in the apartment now is also choking to death in the middle of the night. And if it's not, then, well, there's poison on there and it won't kill anybody. And we were supposed to figure all of that out before the rest of the trial happened. It was so bizarre that you're supposed to go like, yep, it was Olive Green. And then they go, okay, well, we'll take an hour recess and go find her and put her on the stand. and then you put her on the stand, and then after a bunch of questioning, you're like, well, this is what happened. And the judge is like, are you telling me you think this woman poisoned the thing? And it's like, yes, that's what we said an hour ago. That was the whole reason. It really seemed like the entire case happened in reverse order. Or the entire end of the case. Like, that they expected you to have already figured out the whole... Which occasionally happens, right? That's something that occasionally happens in games like this, where they expect you to be a little bit further down the... a little bit further ahead on the plot than you actually are, or sometimes it's the opposite, where you're way ahead and have to wait for the characters to catch up. So, it was weird, and it made for a very weird ending to the trial. The VOD should still be up on Twitch if later on you want to go watch yesterday's, Saturday, what's today? Whatever day it was. Saturday's case. So now we're on case 3, where the Great London Exhibition is happening, and we are going to be defending a man who was running a teleportation experiment, and the person that he put into the teleportation pod apparently died because the machine exploded, and now they're saying, oh, it was murder. It was murder on purpose, not an accident. And that's what he's in jail for, and we're going to defend him for. And we're talking to Van Zieks right now because he was last night, he was attacked in the street by the guy who died was actually like high up in a criminal, like he was the head of a criminal organization, and because he was in court a month ago against the Reaper and won, the fact that he died, everyone's saying, oh, the Reaper rigged it so that he would die, and so they attacked him in retribution to try to kill him. A truly foul plot to kill his only investor. Yeah, as we just found out, he's known the guy for a year because he approached him to say, can you build this teleportation machine? The investigation meant their arrests were imminent. Presumably, some hoped to kill me before that happened. Odie Asman is always masqueraded as one of London's most powerful financiers. A global investor. But his enormous wealth came to him by underhand means via his criminal activities. And he used that money to buy himself a verdict of not guilty when he found himself in court, didn't he? Being prosecuted by you, Mr. Reaper. But the man got his comeuppance in the end. Yesterday, in fact, in extraordinary circumstances, it was a most unusual cause of death. I know about that. It was super high voltage instantaneous kinesis gone wrong. Gone sexual. Mr. Asman died when the demonstration on the public experimentation stage ended in an enormous explosion. Correct. And you think I have some kind of divine ability to cause an accident like that to happen, do you? Well, no, that does seem a little far-fetched. If this man really is the fabled Reaper, then he has to be innocent of this particular death at least. It was just a plain old-fashioned teleporter accident. Just like the old days, just like Mom used to make. It's strange how this has worked out, isn't it, Runo? I mean, what with you taking on the professor's defense for the trial tomorrow? What? You're going to be defending him? Oh yes, that's right. Though I barely know the man's name yet, to be honest. Albert Harebrain. That's right. Do you know him by any chance? Of course. He's a contemporary of mine. We were at university together. You're... What? Watashi no rivalu. Yep. You sure could. That's his name. I'd understood that Professor Harebrain was from Germany, though. Harebrain's from a respectable British family. It is inexplicable that he has such a strong German accent. Sounds just like a native. After graduating from the University of London, he moved to Germany to carry out research. That's all. Oh no, we've already met him. We've already met him, and I completely gave him a German accent. So you were students together? I was in the faculty of law, of course, and he in science, so our paths rarely crossed. But curiously, we got along, though I've not met him since my university days. I certainly didn't expect our next encounter to take this form, and with you, of all people, representing him. Ugh. Only if I make it out of this office alive. He's actually been charged with murder, it seems. Yes, I know, because the prosecution will be handled by me. By you? But you made it sound as if you and the professor had been friends. We are friends, it's true. Then why would you do this? Isn't it a conflict of interest? Not perjury, though, so doesn't count for anything. If the Reaper is the prosecutor, there's nothing anyone can do to save him. He's doomed. What's Lord Van Ziek's thinking? What do you mean by what you said before? If you'd like to know the Reaper's true identity, does that mean... I am a crown prosecutor, and a mortal like any other. I am no demigod, nor am I a shinigami. But they've all died, haven't they? The people you've prosecuted, I mean, except for Soseki. I mean, you prosecuted him twice, he got away both times, he's doing fine. Whether or not the trial ended a conviction or an acquittal... Those I prosecute are the vilest wretches of our society. People who, without question, deserve to be found guilty. The world is a better place without them. But that's not true of Mr. Natsume, for example. He wasn't a vile wretch at all. Nor was Ginny. In fact, she's ever so hard-working. Oh, I forgot all about her. Is she out of jail yet? I can't deny that since I encountered you, things have taken a turn. But the point is this. If any of those vile wretches that escaped justice subsequently died in mysterious circumstances, it was at the hand of their own kind. It is not my work. Lord Strongheart said the same. He believes you're not involved in any way. But you were attacked by those ruffians because they believe it's true. The fact is, since people started to call me the Reaper of the Bailey, the number of serious crimes in the capital has dropped substantially. The correlation doesn't equal causation. I wouldn't take credit for that. It would appear that even the most hardened criminals can be made fearful for their lives. Criminals, you see, are a cowardly, superstitious lot, and I am Batman. Do you mean to say? I am not wearing hockey pants. I mean to say that if my pseudonym serves a useful purpose, I adopt it gladly and with honor. But it's putting you in danger. You could be killed. If that is my fate, let God decide. Lord Van Zieks. Lord Van Zieks, about the article in this paper. Yes, it seems there was a reporter nearby when that little skirmish took place. I had no idea I'd been photographed. It was careless of me. It looks as though it was taken after the people who attacked you had run away, though. Rest assured, the police have already apprehended every last one of them. But there's someone else fighting alongside you, it seems. I think it's the same man who's sitting over there as we speak, isn't it? As I mentioned already, he is my apprentice. His name is Igor. Could you perhaps tell us a little more about him? He is in my tutelage to become a prosecutor. So you could say he's my apprentice, I suppose. Ah, like you are to Hurley then, Bruno. I remember taking an apprenticeship with a great detective. He is currently compiling a report about last night's attack. It looks like he's wearing some kind of mask. On Lord Strongheart's orders, nobody knows the man's face, or indeed his identity. But why would you agree to take on such a clearly sus individual? He could be the imposter. Lord Strongheart's orders again. He is not one for meaningless follies. There will be a good reason for his actions. Hope you're right. The task is complete. Good. In that case, you can collate all the briefs. Ah. Nice to meet you. Nailed it. I voiced the shit out of that guy. Also, there's actual vampire bats with glowing eyes in the back. Just noticing. And casks. Many casks of wine. Many casks. Back to work again. It's really strange, though. Never met the man before. I didn't even know he existed. And yet, somehow it didn't feel like our first encounter. Could it be Kazuma-sama isn't actually dead? Don't bother trying to converse with him. He says nothing to anybody from outside this office. Lord Strongheart has strictly forbidden it. Oh, I see. Why are you so interested in my apprentice anyway? Oh, no. I mean, you know, the way he stood there so casually, yet with that flawless posture. Masaka. It couldn't be what? Frickin' finish your inner monologue. Ah, yes, there is something I've been meaning to ask you. Oh, what's that? That Nipponese man, is he faring well? Sorry? Devon arrested twice in succession 6 months ago with the stoop and the mustache and the jitters. Oh, Mr. Natsume, you mean? I'm not sure he'd be very pleased to find out you identified him from that list, Bruno. He's fine, thank you. In fact, I received a letter from him by international post only the other day. Actually, hold on. Why did we need anything? If you like, whatever happened to that Japanese man? It's like, oh, the only Japanese man that we both know? Oh, he's fine. The only one? Who isn't the Japanese lady? Who's the only Japanese lady that we know? Okay. He's fine, thank you. In fact, I received a letter from him by international post only the other day. I see. Well, I think we can end our discussion there, don't you? There is little time left before tomorrow's trial. I advise you to spend it investigating the case. Yes, thank you for the advice, and for the conversation. I can't believe he's asking after Soseki-san, after a Nipponese. I'm not sure whether to feel happy about that, or racist. I never imagined that Mr. Reaper would be friends with a mad scientist, did you? That's a turn up for the books. A mad scientist? Oh, you mean Professor Harebrain. Yes, it might be worth quizzing the professor about his relationship with Lord Van Zieks, I think. Back to the prison. I understand Lord Van Zieks is a friend of yours from your university days? Yes, that's right. He was studying law whilst I was studying science. I didn't have a German accent at the time. Having been born and raised in England. What was he like back then? A good question. Unassuming, gentlemanly, and all-around nice fellow, really. Sorry, I think you misheard me. I'm talking about the cold-hearted, merciless prosecutor, Barak Van Zieks. What was he like when he was at university? Talk about a leading question, Bruno. As I said, an unassuming and extremely pleasant gentleman. After all, he is the little darling of this Van Zieks family, with all its aristocratic origins. I didn't realize he had quite such noble blood. I figured him for a... I don't have it. There was a word I just learned yesterday from Final Fantasy XIV. A word for... a Franklin? Is that what it was? I was trying to fit the word Franklin in, even though it probably doesn't work here. A freeholder who was not of noble birth. It would have worked perfectly, had I remembered it, but I didn't. Little darling. It was a bit of a shock when I came back to Britain and learned what he'd become. The Reaper of the Bailey, no less. Yes, that's right. I did hear, though, that there was a very big event in his life that completely changed him after graduation. Really? What sort of event? Did it have anything to do with the nation of Nippon? Arg! I'm sorry, but I don't know anymore. I wasn't in the country at the time. I was in Germany already. Oh, yes, of course. If he's heard all about the Reaper, I really don't have the heart to tell him that Lord Van Zieks will be the prosecutor in court tomorrow. Even though he may end up being, cross-examined by him, and it would be good for that not to be dropped on him as a shock. Could do a little bit, like the bare minimum that a lawyer does by preparing your client. Okay, no? Okay. So, Professor, let me just make absolutely sure I've understood you properly. The huge explosion that occurred yesterday, that was an accident, you're saying. You had no intent to harm the victim, who was in fact the sole investor in your work. Is that correct? As correct as 2 squared is 4. I swear it. Yes. Yes, it's true that the man perished in a machine of my invention. Though I know I'm far from blameless in all this, but still. I would never use my discoveries, my inventions, to take a person's life, not in a centillion years. Coaching is frowned upon. Oh, you're such a comedian. I'm a man of science. It's all I know. You have to believe me, please. Do you believe me? Do you believe in my hypothesis? Science is a pursuit of truth, you know. I've always believed that, all my life. I'm afraid I don't know much about science, or your theories, or facts, or laws. But I do believe you, and I will fight to prove your innocence with all my might. I'm a man of the law. It's all I know. You have to believe me, please. But I went to live in Germany after I graduated. I learned something very important. Nationality, class, lineage, accent. None of that matters. As long as you try your hardest, you can achieve anything. Thank you for that, Professor. And thank you in advance for defending me tomorrow in court. Alright, Runao. It's time. It's shooting time. I started blasting. Time to visit the Great Exhibition. Sorry? Well, that's where the incident happened, isn't it? Oh, I was just gonna freaking go to court without knowing what happened. Now that you mention it, sure, we could go check out the scene of the crime. I suppose that's true. He's like, I was just gonna go to bed. I figured a good night's sleep would be, you know, all I need to defend an accused murderer. Like, clearly, if I need anything, somebody will charge into the court and shout, "Hold it," at the last second. She was, yes, in anger. Ugh, the showgrounds are a little too big for my liking. We've been walking around in dense crowds for 2 hours now, and I've felt myself swooning 3 times. There are a lot of people, aren't there? I've almost been trodden on 3 times, too. Be careful, won't you, Iris? Don't let go of my hand. We finally made it through the throngs, though, by the look of it. Here we are, underneath the public experimentation stage where the explosion happened yesterday. What's that? It's a flag. It's the Union Jack. I can hear voices from up on the stage. It sounds like an argument. Right. I've had it with you this time. I'm warning you, I'll arrest you in a minute. Oh yeah, go on then, Inspector, give it a shot. You ain't got no evidence, and you know it. Look who's back. Wait, I know He-Ten's voices. You got a You've got a cheeky little mouth on you, young lady, but a night in the cells will teach you some manners. Oh, just try it, I dare you, if you want that bag of chips rammed down your throat. Yoo-hoo, Gregsy, what are you doing up there? How did he get down here so fast? Did he leap? Ah! It's you! Here! You're here! Here you are! You! Here! Your ladyship! How are you, your ladyship? I do hope you're well, your ladyship? To make her 3 times a lady? Haha, like the song, which hasn't been invented yet. I'm not well at all. It's far too busy everywhere. I wanted to ride in a balloon, but there was a 3-hour queue. Unbelievable. I'll go and have a word for you at once, your ladyship. You'll be flying as high as a kite in no time once I pull some strings for you. Tobias Greggs, why are we being in... He's already been in this. We don't need this. An inspector at Scotland Yard. Until recently, he was suspended from duty, but it would appear he's back in action now. He's actually quite well known, appearing as he does in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. And for that reason, you can't say a word wrong to the story's author, Iris. But there are limits, surely. Or there should be. Watch it, sunshine. Sorry. What gives, then? Don't tell me you're on this case. Yes, I'm acting for the defense. So we're here to investigate. Dear me, that's the situation, is it? Is it really that troubling? A measly $5, is that all you got? You're a lawyer, ain't you? You can stand to carry a bit more copper in your pockets, Mr. Naruto. What? Hey, that's my last thruppence! It's my last thruppeny. You give that back. You can have it back, but I'll have to charge you for all the bother. Free Bob. This is Gina Lestrade, a pickpocket, or diver, born and bred in the East End of London. In the case that led to my own suspension 6 months ago, this is the young girl I was defending in court. What's your problem, eh, Otto? Yes, that is her. This is the first time she's appeared in this game. Because this is Resolve. The first game was called Adventure, and this half is called Resolve. So when we're on case 3 of Resolve, the last time we saw her was the last case of Adventure. And yes, we were defending her because she was trying to get a piece of evidence out of the jacket, this and that. Yes, she pouts often. She has a heart of gold, though. She cried at the end, probably. Diver, pickpocket, what's with all the name calling? You want a bag of chips rammed down? You want a bag of chips rammed down your throat and all, do you? I thought you were proud to be a diver, Gina. You were just arguing with Inspector Gregson about it, weren't you? I assumed you'd been up to your usual tricks here at the showground. That ain't no way to talk to a lady, Otto. Half a year's a long time. People can change. I'm an apprentice now, learning to be a Scotland Yard detective. So you have to call me what everyone else does. It's It's Inspector Lestrade now. Cute. It's Inspector Lestrade now. Inspector? That badge is homemade, surely. The inspector part isn't entirely accurate. No one calls for that. For what it's worth, anyway. Investigating is off the cards for all of us. What's that supposed to mean? Yes. Gina Lestrade. Right, well, I'll be back up top. You hold the fort down here, alright? Right, sir. This raises a lot of questions. First things first, I'm gonna show you my badge. Why did I... Don't examine it, just throw it in her face without looking. This armband is proof, in Japan at least, that I'm a defense lawyer. And this badge is proof that I'm a detective. So you're all gonna have to start calling me Inspector Lestrade. In that case, you'll have to start calling me... well, anything but Otto. I could call you Defender now, Otto, if you like. But it don't really trip off the tongue. No, it doesn't have a great ring to it, does it? Gina, would you take a look... Oh, where did it go? Looking for this, Otto? When did she do that? I wonder if you got anything else to show me, eh? What do you reckon? Give that back first, please. Picked my pocket. It was 8 months ago now that I first encountered Gina in connection with a case I was working on. At the time, she was living in the East End with a group of other orphans. She helped all of them survive by pickpocketing, but then she got embroiled in a murder. True. To know the crime, you must do the crime, as they say. Nobody says that. I had a lot of time to think in prison. I was like, she did go to prison, right? Yeah, she did, but it was only for a couple days, I guess. I realized I couldn't go on like I was. The diving weren't working out. Oh, I'm so pleased to hear it, Ginny. Well done. So, you went from being a pickpocket to a detective? You got it. Good, innit? Inspector Lestrade sound like something out of a book, eh? Fourth wall, eh? Talk about a sea change. And then there's Iris's old man to think about. Iris's father, you mean? Yeah, I promised her, didn't I? I said I'd get all the police forces around the world to pull out all the stops looking for him. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot to be said for first-hand knowledge of criminal psychology and this and that. And just knowing stuff in if you're street smart, then that's helpful. Just a small promise then, nothing serious. See also Garrett. Welcome. Oh, Jenny, you're so sweet. So anyway, that's how come I had a go at the test for Scotland Yard. Only trouble is I don't read so well, do I? Just a small problem, nothing serious. Well, it is like the 1910s, isn't it? Frickin' nobody can read. And that's when Hurley approached Gregsy and asked for help. So the inspector said he'd take full responsibility for Jenny and made her a sort of apprentice. Very magnanimous of Inspector Gregson, and brave. Well, you know Hurley. He enjoys finding ways to make people do what he wants. The great detective likes digging for dirt, in other words. So the long and short of it is, if you got questions about the case, you can ask Inspector Lestrade. Right then, Inspector. Actually, there's still a big mystery surrounding Gina, isn't there? Ooh, what, Runa, what? Well, 6 months ago, Gina was a defendant in a trial prosecuted by the Reaper. A trial in which she was found not guilty, and yet here she is still. Come on, you're not still on about that, are you? The Legend of the Reaper, or whatever it's called. Cool, you don't half worry, Otto. If I didn't half worry, there probably wouldn't be a whole lot of you left. Ho-ho, I guess. It's like I told you before, innit? The Reaper's kinda like him upstairs, so he knows what I'm like on the inside. That ain't really done nothing wrong. Nothing wrong might be stretching a point. What about Mr. Natsume in Japan? He's perfectly fine, isn't he? Isn't he? Well, that's true. Perhaps the Reaper is more discerning than I thought. Exactly, so I ain't worried. I'm totally fine. Core was out of this world, it was. The brainy bloke pulled a bunch of levers on his machine and suddenly it started billowing smoke. Literacy rates were 97% in the UK in 1900. That is very surprising. I'm pretty sure. I feel like they were lower in the US at the time. Although maybe I only think that because I read it in a book. Maybe literacy has proved our undoing. And then it just went pop. I ain't seen a better experiment here yet. That is very rapid growth. Huh. Sorry. You mean you saw it, Jenny, with your own eyes? Yeah, of course. The boss is in charge here, ain't he? Keeping everything running smooth, I mean. The boss meaning Inspector Gregson, I suppose. That's gonna take some getting used to. So all I have to say is that I'm on duty, and I can do whatever I want to. Get this, I was up in one of them flying balloons when it happened, watching it from above. No, you're so lucky, Jenny. Maybe I should join Scotland Yard too. Yeah, do it. You know how to put the boss in his place already, right, Iris? You'd have no trouble at all. The 1870 Education Act. This is very curious. I think it was because they got rid of the window tax. I think literacy-wise, that was what was holding you guys back. Then it's settled. When do I start? No, you can't join Scotland Yard, Iris. We'll see. Anyway, what I don't understand is this. If the machine exploded so spectacularly, how can Professor Bunnybrain still be claiming that his experiment was a success? Oh, right. Well, it was a success, in a way. It was? How can it have been? Successful experiment? Surely, after the whole machine blew up, no one could call the experiment a success. I guess there is that, right? Well, like, how did they determine the whatever? How did they get that data? Well, I don't want to presume anything. I'm terrible at history. It's like I said, it did sort of work. I mean, yeah, there was a load of smoke and that whopper great bang. But where'd you think they found the victim's body, eh? In the Crystal Tower over there. What? In the tower? You can see for yourself, can't you? Up there above the scaffold. Where all the glass is broken, you mean? Yeah, the cave what the victim got. The cage what the victim got in to start with. Really did get beamed through the air or whatever and landed all the way over there. So, you see, it did kind of work, didn't it? What? I don't believe it. I mean, I don't get the ins and outs of it, but anything's possible, right? With science. I tell you what, you can have this. It's a plan of the experiment what they drew up at the yard. You sure? Yeah, go on. I had 3 bob off you before, so fair's fair. Yeah, I didn't actually give that to you, did I? So let me take a look at this. Oh, this isn't helpful at all. Thanks. Idiot. Something Inspector Gregson said before seemed a little strange. For what it's worth, anyway. Investigating is off the cards for all of us. Yes, naughty old Gregsy ran off after that without explaining himself. Oh, right, that. The boss said no one's allowed to investigate that weird machine what blew up yesterday. Well, that's not fair. We're representing the defendant. In that case, could you at least tell us what you've learned in your investigations? Nah, you're not getting it. We're not allowed to Oh, nah, you're not getting it. We're not allowed to investigate neither. Why? What did the boss call them again? The forensic investigation team, I think. Anyway, apart from them lot, no one's allowed to lay a finger on the scene. Bit funny, innit? So even Scotland Yard's own detectives can't investigate? Yes, I've never heard of something like that before. Thought I could have a gander on the quiet though, but the boss caught me at it. You probably heard him give me an earful about it before from down here, didn't you? It's not bleeding fair. I think you were giving him as much of an earful back, as I remember it. Yeah, well, sometimes I think it's all them chips what make him so stubborn. You say something to him, Otto. Go on, see if you can get through him. Break through the chips. He's on the platform above us, is he? Where the machine that exploded is. We can try, can't we, Runo? Gregsy will listen to us. Compulsory... Yeah, I mean, without compulsory education, it's like... Would you learn to read... This sometimes blows my mind. Like, you realize everybody had to learn everything from scratch? Like, when you were a kid, you didn't know anything. How did we ever get to where we, each of us, is right now, knowing all of the things that we know? So we'd be like, oh, you know the moon. It's like, no, I don't know what that is. I don't know what the moon is. I know there's a white circle in the sky. I don't get it, though. I don't get anything about what anything is until somebody says it. Or I read it. And yeah, same thing for, like, books. Like, learning to read. Like, obviously, I mean, if you work with kids, or if you have kids, or if you know a child at all, then it's maybe a little bit more in your face. But it's like, yeah, they don't know anything about any of the letters or the sounds that they make. They have no vocabulary until they learn it. Unbelievable, the amount of work that goes into learning to be a human being. And then they eventually went, let's make a law. Let's make a law that says you have to learn. Do I examine and then move? Yes, that's how I do it. Nope, that's not how I do it. Reason I asked generally curious about how they measure, because here we had some obviously skewed reports that didn't include people who were ineligible to vote, etc. The lack of rights of large portions of our population. Yeah, even only 100 years ago, yeah. Hard to get accurate info. Reading up on the Education Act of the UK does lend credence to it being fairly accurate, which is super interesting. People don't realize compulsory education really is a Western concept that is just a lot better than people currently believe. It's also why people can get so up in arms about when what is taught goes against their personal bias. Right, to say, like, here's something that I don't believe is true, or that I don't believe people should be taught as fact, and they say, but it's being told to people who have no choice but to believe everything that they're told, because they're kids. They can't not think that it's true if somebody's telling them it's true, kind of. How do I get to the guy, though? They're like, go talk to him. Maybe I examine the stairs. This platform must have been set up for the experiment, I suppose. It's very high up. About 30 feet above the ground, apparently. That's what a policeman I just spoke to said. I told you never to talk to the police. I don't really understand feet very well. We don't use them in Japan. Oh yes, sorry. It's about 9 metries. But soon, you'll have been in London a year, Runo. It's time you got used to our measurements. It's not like we're gonna switch. Yes, well, this thing is so tall, the spectators at the front would just have seen a wall and nothing else. They probably thought they'd secure the best spot to watch from, only to be disappointed. Yeah, both of those things are kind of crazy. Like, the idea of someone going, like, I'm 8 and I'm smart. I could just go watch videos about like, database programming, or, you know, like agriculture, or what, like anything that you want to learn, you can for free 24/7. And that is kind of wild. Like, it does kind of make you think, like, at the same time that it's like, yes, we should put people in school so that they'll learn. It's also like, kids are kind of predisposed towards learning, and you could just, assuming it was curated, assuming that you weren't giving them misinformation, you could just turn them loose on the swath of information that is out there on the internet, and probably they would do all right. Best memory I have is when I was 5 or 6. A mutual friend told me the one time he ran through the rainstorm and didn't get wet, but he didn't have an umbrella. Oh, that Alex ran through the rainstorm and didn't get wet. Yeah, what? Objection. I have found a contradiction. Can't run through the rain without getting wet. Silly. There's a saying in Japan, the darkest spot is right under the lighthouse. I feel like it probably applies here. The Crystal Tower. It's certainly an apt name. No, I'm saying when the time comes, you won't need to. It was built to be the focal point of the exhibition, and it definitely is, being so tall, with all that glass. I can't imagine a building like this ever being erected in Japan. There are lots of exhibits inside the tower as well, apparently. Of course, there's an observation deck, but there's also an art gallery, a zoo, and a museum. But I heard you have to queue for 3 hours just to get through the doors. Well, at the moment, the shattered glass from the failed experiment may well be the biggest draw. Broken glass is way more, like, impressive than teleporters and flying cars. Thanks to that accident, the whole tower is shut. Suddenly, it's not the Crystal Tower anymore, but the Crystal Glass Shower. Apparently, everyone's taken to the skies now to look down on the disaster from above instead. But there's a 3-hour queue to go up in a balloon now. Wonders must be very patient people. Don't you try to skip the queue, or you'll get tutted at. You'll get a right tutting. That's where the cove ended up after his instant kinesis, or whatever they call it. Dead, of course. And yet they're calling the experiment a success? What's the wooden scaffold there for? The coppers, or lads, set that up after the incident happened. To get the body down, I think. Dunno, really. Didn't you help to erect the scaffold, then? Nah, lookout duty's more my thing. Wander around the exhibition, keeping a lookout for the fun stuff. Mind Gregson doesn't hear you saying that, or he'll give you the boot. Oh, let's see. Let me see this crystal tower. Wait, the thing on the left? Or the whole thing? Just the thing on the left, I guess. Very neat. It's incredible, though, isn't it? I mean, could the victim really have bridged that gap by some sort of invisible kinesis? Do 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 do. Alright, well, if I can't move up to the platform, then... Oh, Crystal Palace. Okay. I expected it to say tower, so that's what I read. What am I missing here? If you let your concentration slip, you might miss what people say. I already got all 4 of her things. Ah, it looks as though somebody dropped something behind the tree just here. Dropped? Or hid? What's this? Some part of the machine that exploded? Maybe. It could have fallen from the platform above in the blast, perhaps. What's going on, eh? Oh, nothing, officer. I think I'll hang on to this just in case. The mysterious contraption has been entered into the court record. And it disappeared. Take that! Oh, nope. That's not it. Maybe if I look at it. Crossbows loaded, 0 out of 17. Where's Faded? I wish to thank him. Ah, there's some sort of lever here. Fa-chunk. Fa-goop. What is this? It looks like a cross between a bow and a gun. I think it's probably used for the same thing, too. It looks like you wind this around in order to draw the bowstring back and create tension. You must be able to fire arrows with a huge amount of force using this device, then. In fact, I would imagine it's far more accurate and powerful than a Japanese longbow. I really had no idea what I was picking up when I spotted this at the exhibition grounds. Now my fingerprints and my finger dust, skin print is all over it. Now I'm the murderer. Try presenting it now. Nope, still doesn't matter. Well, there's no bolt in it. Let's go present it to him? No, he's gone. He's gone. He teleported out of jail, just like he said he would.